Herr Weber?
Frau Russo, guten Morgen.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Wouldn't start without you.
Das ist für Ihre Soldaten.
Ach, danke, das ist sehr nett von Ihnen.
Kein Problem. Einen schönen Tag noch.
Hey Jungs, schaut, was wir haben. Was ist das?
Forward to the church!
Watch for enemy fire! Cover! Get the radio! I'll cover you! Go!
Sergeant Summers, F Company, send in the planes, now!
Royals plane, Summers!
I'm sorry, keep it waiting, boys. Bombs away. Stärkungen sind angekommen, Feldmarschall Rommel.
Hello and welcome to the reveal of Company of Heroes 3. I'm Brian Altano from IGN, and you just got an exclusive first look at Company of Heroes 3, developed by Relic Entertainment and Sega, and maybe even you. But more on that part in just a sec. Company of Heroes 3 is real, it's happening, and for the next hour we're bringing you new details, developer interviews, hands-on impressions, and most importantly, tons and tons of gameplay. Company of Heroes 3 features the biggest single-player campaign in the history of Company of Heroes, tons of new factions and specialist units to call into battle, and the most gorgeous cinematic and fully destructible sandbox environments the franchise has ever seen. So, without further ado, it's time to finally see this long-awaited, highly anticipated new game in action. Here it is, the stunning first look at gameplay for Company of Heroes 3.
It was 1944. Our orders were to liberate the Italian city of Gaeta. Taking the beach was our first objective. Shells were raining down on us as we rushed toward the German fortifications. The German bunkers were overlooking the entire beach. And once we were in range, we hit them from both sides. Once the first bunker collapsed, the defense opened up. After securing the beach, we were told to take a nearby Flak 88. Blowing up the artillery was the only way we could hold our position. We accomplished our mission, but not without losses. And this long day had just begun. While we led the main front, they dropped in paratroopers to stop any German reinforcements. They never saw them coming.
Cut him down! Covering fire! Take out that target!
Caught in the open, they never stood a chance. The outskirts of the city were now ours. We set up a forward base, urgently building a triage center for the wounded. We rallied together and prepared for the final assault. We made our way toward the city square. They were expecting us, but we were one step ahead of them. Even with the help from the British, we knew this was going to be an uphill fight. German troops were gathered in the main square. We didn't expect that level of resistance. Under heavy fire, buildings collapsing around us, and for a while, they had the upper hand. But we kept on pushing. We managed to hold the position long enough for air support to arrive. The city was ours, but our fight in Italy had only just begun.
Alright, that was your first look at Company of Heroes 3 gameplay. As you can see, it's an explosive mix of action, tactics, and strategy, and it looks completely awesome. To find out more, let's check in with the developers of Company of Heroes 3 and learn how they're creating the deepest tactical game ever made. Here's an interview with some folks from Relic Entertainment, the amazing team behind Company of Heroes 3.
Hey Jungs, schaut was wir haben. Was ist das?
We asked our players, where would you like to see Company of Heroes 3? And we put on the board 2 new theaters.
We decided on the Mediterranean Theater because it's what our players asked for. A while back we sent out so many different surveys, and I think we got back about 60,000 responses, and by far the Mediterranean was the one that the players wanted to see the most. Authenticity and realism is critical for the Company of Heroes franchise, and we're not just taking it from ourselves. We're taking our stories, we're taking our concept for our narrative, and we're actually working with external ethics consultants. We want to make sure, are we treating this material with all of the respect and all of the care that it deserves?
Well, the one thing we wanted to do with Company of Heroes 3 is make sure we build a game for the core first. So our fans that have played our franchise, the ones that are the most passionate, are the ones we started with.
For existing fans of Company of Heroes, we've definitely focused on the core of what they love, which is flanking, cover, and destruction. On top of that, we're bringing in breaching, which can help get those stuck-in troops out of buildings. This adds to the authenticity and to the realism.
We heard from players that garrisoning was too powerful in many cases. It was just a race to a building near a capture point, and you garrison it, and you're in there for a while.
Forward to the church! Watch for enemy fire!
I think if I had to choose a feature that I'm most excited about, it's the verticality in the gameplay and the fact that our environments are so different. In Italy, which is what we've really been focusing on as of late to make sure that's in a great state to get out to fans, the verticality really changes gameplay. You now have bottlenecks and choke points and gain height advantages, and it really changes the game from anything we've ever done before. And our True Sight feature, which our players love, that's much improved with the verticality in our environments, where True Sight really shines, because getting a tactical advantage by having height is fantastic. Of course, there's counters to that as well.
Company of Heroes is an intense RTS experience, and it is something that we are loving building, but we also want to make sure that we're providing an experience that new players can get into and really enjoy. This is a strategic turn-based experience that interweaves with single-player RTS missions and skirmishes, and the really fun thing about that is how the gameplay between the two of them can interrelate. And talking about the RTS, we're also working on a new feature called Tactical Pause. This is something that's an optional single-player only feature where players are able to stop everything on the battlefield, take a deep breath, think about what their units are doing, give them their actions, and then hit go and see how everything's going to play out on the map.
Here we have players queuing up where their infantry are going to go, where their tanks are going to go, call-ins, building bases, also actions that the infantry can do, like throwing grenades. So everything you can do in real time you can do while paused, and then you simply unpause the game again. Naval and sea forces were a big part of this theater. Our Navy is going to be mostly on the campaign map, where not only can you bombard cities and enemies from the seas, but the enemy will have U-boats. They're trying to sink your ships, they're trying to get to your supply lines. And when you go into missions and you go into skirmishes, if you have destroyers nearby, you can actually call in some bombardments in the RTS as well. So full Navy support. We're looking to our players over the next year and a half to help us develop this feature. We're super excited about it. The key on our campaign map is to capture airports so you can have air superiority. I mean, a huge part of the war was supporting your troops on the ground in the air. And so you can do recon, of course, once you have an airport. You can bomb different enemy types. You could even bomb Monte Cassino. Just like in real life, which turned out maybe not to be a great move. But those are decisions you're going to make on the battlefield. So it really is taking Ardennes Assault and then timesing it by 1,000. Because now we have this full 3D environment. All the things that make a great strategy game are the things that we're adding to the map to make it the best campaign experience ever in Company of Heroes. With our PvP modes, the most important thing is authenticity and adding more depth than ever before. So players who loved our first two games, not only are they going to see features they've loved, but we have new features to make sure that they can play our PvP in Company of Heroes 3 for 10 more years. And even in our campaign, you're going to see 10 different kinds of skirmishes. And we hope to bring that to PvP as well. And little things that our players have been asking for, such as key binding, which we've never delivered before, where players can customize their keyboard. Those are some of the features we're bringing to make the PvP experience the best it's ever been.
Two of the first factions we can talk about for Company of Heroes 3 are the British forces and are the American forces. And yes, Company of Heroes players have experienced these before. What we're trying to do with Company of Heroes 3 is to grow them and to make the gameplay newer and more interesting.
So if you do things that they like, such as not blowing up their towns and not blowing up their airports, they will do things for you, and they will go out and they will survey the environment and look for the enemy and report back to you. They can sabotage bridges and do other things like that they really did in the war. And the more you work with them, the more they're going to do for you.
One of the things we're so excited about with our campaign is how the player is going to be able to interact with it. It's your actions on the map, it's the tactics you take, it's your decision around what direction you're taking as you're moving through the campaign. It's the combination of all of these actions on the map that are going to spawn the different narrative beats.
We are planning on launching the game in late 2022, but as everyone's going to notice, we're announcing pretty early. And the reason we're announcing early is because we want players to get to play the game before launch and give us feedback.
We want players to just absolutely dive in and eat up every single bit of gameplay that we're giving to them, and then we want to hear back from them about what we think about it. I mean, the new strategic turn-based combat on the campaign map is the new thing. What players are going to be able to see is a portion of the Italian campaign. They're going to be able to play with the American and the British forces. They're going to be able to engage with the Italian partisans.
You start in Naples. Your first task is to stop the bombing of Naples by taking over an airport where the Germans currently own. Once you do that, you spread out across this slice of Italy and try and take back this area. Many of the features that will be in the final game are there.
The feedback that we're going to get from our pre-alpha preview is invaluable. We take this feedback, we're going to bring it into the studio, so come and join us. It's going to be loads of fun.
And we're back. Aren't video games great? Shout out to the entire team behind Company of Heroes 3 who have been working hard behind the scenes and in secrecy developing this giant new game. Now, maybe you've been watching all of these reveals today and saying to yourself, hey, this game looks incredibly fun, but I need to play it, like, soon. Well, guess what? You can. You heard that right. As part of today's big reveal for Company of Heroes 3, Relic Entertainment have one more surprise. Starting today at 11 a.m. Pacific time and running for the next 3 weeks, you'll be able to get your hands on a pre-alpha preview of Company of Heroes 3 on PC for free. Now, the game is still more than a year out from launch, but in this early look at Company of Heroes 3, you'll get to experience a small slice of early gameplay from the single-player campaign, including the new turn-based campaign map and the full tactical pause feature that we showcased earlier. You'll be taking on the role of the commander of the Allied troops in Italy on a campaign to retake the mainland from the entrenched Axis forces. From your landing in Naples, you'll have access to 4 campaign missions and several dynamic skirmish battles. This is all part of Relic's new community feedback program called Co-Development. In other words, this is not a demo or a paid early access build. This is an early pre-alpha look under the hood at what's to come next year, and Relic want your feedback to help make it even better. To get your hands on this pre-alpha preview of Company of Heroes 3, head over to companyofheroes.com and sign up before it's too late. Now, we'll be playing Company of Heroes 3 live on air in just a few minutes, but in the meantime, here's IGN's Liana Hafer with her thoughts on that very same build.
My US Airborne company is not having their best day of the war, as a strafing run from the Luftwaffe forces us out of our strongest position in the middle of the map, and a pair of Panzers starts to roll right up our flank. We've been sent here from Company of Heroes 3's dynamic campaign map to capture an airfield, which would not only stop these attacks from above that keep plaguing us in every mission, but allow us to deploy behind enemy lines or resupply by air. Even in its pre-alpha state, this dust-up in southern Italy shows off a spectacular layered warscape, where small decisions made at the unit level can echo all the way up to a grand strategic theater. Company of Heroes 2 toyed with the idea of doing a dynamic campaign map in the Ardennes Assault expansion, but Company of Heroes 3 has gone all out. We don't have a lot of footage of the campaign map yet, but I got to play around with it quite a bit, and I'd compare the scope and complexity almost to something like Total War. Companies and specific leaders level up and gain new abilities. Special optional missions like an assassination or extraction will pop up from time to time. Capturing a town and breaking an enemy supply line can be a clutch play. There are even new unit types called detachments who can fight each other in auto-resolved battles on the campaign map, or join a full-fledged company as a roster modifier in real-time battles if they're close by. Small skirmishes between detachments allow much more strategic decision-making without bogging down the pace with dozens of RTS missions per turn. On the battlefield, Company of Heroes 3 feels more evolutionary than revolutionary, though. In some ways, it's actually a bit of a throwback. Based on fan feedback, Relic wanted to create a game with an emphasis on infantry and pacing closer to COH1 as opposed to COH2, which could escalate into a giant tank war pretty quickly. The intimacy of war this series has always been so good at portraying is all here in higher detail than ever, with heartbreakingly realistic animations and unit calls.
Half-track destroyed! Reorg!
However, the carnage unfolds across a generally much brighter, more colorful backdrop of Italy and North Africa. Modern tech has allowed Company of Heroes 3 to really amp up the destruction from an artillery barrage or armored push. Driving a tank right through a building might be a viable way to smash an enemy hardpoint, and a soaring villa can be rendered into a cascade of falling plaster and roof tiles by artillery. Relic hasn't decided yet how they're going to handle things like damage from falling debris, and it may work differently in single-player versus multiplayer modes. Many infantry squads can also now breach buildings that are garrisoned by enemy units, kicking the door down in proper war movie fashion and tossing in a grenade before storming it. This allowed me to play a lot more aggressively in infantry versus infantry skirmishes, which feels great overall. It avoids those stalemates where you basically have to wait until you have the firepower to completely level everything to make any progress. Vehicle combat hasn't been left by the wayside either, though. Tanks now have a side armor value in addition to front and rear, which makes tank duels a lot more interesting. I was able to take out that Panzer duo from earlier with some hastily deployed light tanks just by dancing around their flanks and making sure I always had my hardened front end pointed their way. It takes a lot of micro, but Company of Heroes 3 even has new ways to deal with that. Tactical Pause lets you freeze a battle in place in single player and issue a chain of multiple orders to your units, which will be executed to the best of their ability when you resume. This feature won't be available in competitive multiplayer, and it was described to me almost like training wheels for newer players. But even as someone who has been playing RTSs for most of my life, I really appreciated the more thoughtful playstyle it enables. Late into a match, Company of Heroes can really get too busy to follow everything that's going on. And especially with how good this one looks, I'd rather pause, give everyone their marching orders, and then be able to zoom in and watch the action, rather than zipping all over the map, constantly trying to put out fires. You can check out the Company of Heroes 3 pre-alpha preview on PC for yourself starting today. And for more, check out our article on how Company of Heroes 3 compares to Company of Heroes 1 and 2. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Well, friends, that's all from me for now, but you don't need more of me. You need more Company of Heroes 3, and for that, we're kicking it to a full-on gameplay livestream with IGN's Liana Hafer and the team behind Company of Heroes 3. So sit back, relax, and let's check out even more Company of Heroes 3 gameplay live.
Hey everybody, this is Liana Hafer, and I am here today with the lead campaign designer of Company of Heroes 3, Drew Deneau.
Hey Liana.
And the executive producer, David Littman, aka Liddy.
Hey Liana, awesome to be here, thanks.
Yeah, thanks you guys for being here. We're going to be taking a look at the pre-alpha preview slice that you'll be able to check out for yourself after this stream ends, and we're going to start out by picking a battle plan. What can you guys tell me about each of these, and maybe what's the best one for like a veteran Company of Heroes player to get started with?
A range of questions, good ones, Liana. I'll say that battle plans are the player's entry into the campaign. So this is the player's opportunity to choose, which of the key factions they want to land in Italy with. Is it the Americans? Is it the British? Is it a combination of those companies? So in this case, you've got in front of you the American plan, British, and combined. And in this case, I'd recommend you start with the Americans. They start with 2 elite companies and a naval destroyer and support with some extra munitions to give you enough to cast those handy naval bombardments.
All right. So, high level, what are we looking at here? What is this scenario, and what are our goals?
Well, what we're looking at here is the pre-alpha preview that everyone around the world can play today. The first preview has a slice of our single-player campaign in Italy. We will have more pre-alpha previews in the future that will focus more on multiplayer and PvP, but this was the one we wanted to get out first to really get people's feedback on because it's new to us. So the campaign in Company of Heroes 3 is totally non-linear and combines a turn-based campaign map with RTS missions and skirmishes.
And what's sort of the historical context behind this? Where are we in the war? What are we trying to do here?
So with the pre-alpha preview, Liana, the players starting in Naples, they're seeing a little bit of pressure from Pamigliano, a nearby airfield. The Germans will commence bombing runs on Naples, looking to reduce the strength of the port and eventually, completely break the players' lines of supply. So, critical to this initial landing, the players should go straight at Pamigliano with all haste and clean that up.
All right, and what can we do to maximize our chances of success here?
Great question. Well, you chose the American plan, so that gave us some bonus munitions as well as that naval destroyer in support. So I'd recommend you get some naval gunfire support in play here and see if you can carve a path for your ground forces.
We got our naval bomber. Let's see if we can try to hit both of these guys.
It's pretty tough. I've seen some people get both.
Let's see. All right, there we go.
Nice.
So
work.
Yeah, well played.
Win for the U.S. Navy. So we've got our big companies here, but we've also got these little guys. What can you tell me about these guys?
So detachments are the smaller troop formations that represent support elements for the companies. So detachments will do things for you like unlock additional or bonus units when entering a mission or a skirmish. So for example, if you bring in medics, you'll gain access to a medical ambulance, which you can use to both reinforce and heal your squads in the mission, in the RTS experience, whether it's a skirmish or a story mission.
Yeah, and on the campaign map, detachments can repair bridges, they can heal other units, but your companies are those are the forces that you're going to go into the missions and skirmishes with. So if you want to take this company here, Spec Ops company, and let's go towards the airport, you have garrisoned a medic and I think a rifle detachment. So you're set to go.
Well, before we get at it, I noticed I have some skill points here. What do you think? What do you think would be the most fun to show off of what we got out of our skill trees here?
Well, I like unlocking a few units out of the roster, but I think in this case, probably the White Phosphorus Barrage is going to be most useful in this mission.
Gotcha. Damaging all infantry in the area of effect, so we'll go ahead and grab those prerequisites. 4 skill points exactly, and we will get right to it. All right, and so what's the mission here? What are we trying to accomplish, and what's that going to do for us on a strategic level?
Well, by capturing the airfield, what you'll find is that you'll unlock the ability to manage that airfield, fill it with bombers, C-47, transport planes, reconnaissance aircraft, and all those aircraft and abilities can be used on the strategic layer on the dynamic campaign map in a way to support your ground forces. So it unlocks a pretty big strategic resource for you. Not to mention the fact that you can have a little bit of fun playing the mission through.
Yeah. So this is how we kind of transition into the real-time battles. I know that the detachments, it seems like they can kind of skirmish on their own without really having to do 40 real-time missions every turn. How often are you going to be getting into these RTS type scrapes? What's the pacing there?
I think it's really going to depend on how well the player tackles some of the threats on the campaign map. Using all the tools, there's going to be lots of opportunity for the player to perform those kinds of breakthrough moments and really smash the Axis positions. If you let the Axis fall back and gain strength, you're going to have to face them again. So it's certainly worth the player's while to leverage everything: partisans, naval gunfire support, detachments, to encircle and destroy the Germans before they can escape.
All right. So got the airfields here. Looks like we got some towers, we got some bunkers. Might have our work a little bit cut out for us. This U.S. division, the Special Operations Division, what are they good at? What should we be trying to leverage?
Well, the 1st Special Services Force, they were an elite group of commandos comprised of both Americans and Canadians. They were pretty groundbreaking. This is the whole concept of this unit. in particular for the gameplay, I mean, we're talking about elite infantry. So I would highly recommend you get some of your first Special Service Force commandos in field. Powerful elite infantry.
Excellent.
And start building up your munitions to get that White Phosphorus barrage.
So we got these guys up in this this house here. What can we do about that, I think?
What do you think, Letty?
I think breaching, which is one of our new features that a lot of players have asked for to help get garrison units out of buildings, that's your best bet here. So if you go up to the building, let's see what they do here to get these Germans out of there.
Door, throwing a grenade. Yeah,
so you notice
like
that
if
you watch the CG trailer, you notice that there was breaching in it. So everything we had in the CG trailer is in gameplay, and you can actually do in the game.
What kind of wildness is that? Showing a trailer that has actual gameplay in it? What is this?
Well, the whole idea is definitely to make sure players see what is actually in the game, and even better than that, they get to play it today. So this is a great preview. You're doing great so far, Leona.
All right, so it looks like we are relieving these commandos who are holed up here. And, we got, looks like some supply drops and some weapons on the ground here. Let's see, we got an MG. I think we're fighting against an armored company, so this bazooka is gonna probably get some use, I think.
Yeah, gear up for sure. If it's not nailed down, pick it up.
Yeah, of course.
So, Liana, I noticed you just called in the medic truck, and that's because you brought in the medic detachment with you, and that allows for call-ins. In this case, you've called in a medic truck, which can support your units, and now you don't have to run back to your base in order to heal up. The medic truck can follow you and on the front lines, although you have to protect it as well.
Yeah, so we'll get these commandos took some losses before we got there, so we'll get them patched up a little bit. And I know air support seems like it might be helpful here, so we'll get some planes in the sky too.
Yeah, and that's a critical tech for the Americans. Absolutely, the air support center is organic to the American structure.
Fantastic.
So in true Company of Heroes fashion, it's all about real tactics. So as you're coming up against the enemy, it's about finding cover. It's about using combined arms. It's about flanking. It's not an RTS where you just go straight at the enemy and just hope to kill them. You actually have to use a lot of your strategy, which you're doing.
Right. Let's see if we can kind of flank these guys. There we go. That'll do it. So, we have to cross a lot of open ground here, which always makes me a little bit nervous. But as I understand, there's a feature that might kind of help us out here a little bit. You want to talk a little bit about that as we set up our assault?
Yeah, I could just mention, full tactical pause is, once we started playing with it, a lot of us can't go back to not having it, and it's only in single player. It's not in PvP. And so in single player, you can pause the game, and anything you can do in real time, you can do while paused. So it just slows the game down, and you can play at your own pace. For me, it's very helpful. For a lot of the core players out there, they may not use this feature, but so far it's been a godsend for a lot of us. And so using it, you can set up all your units, their waypoints of where they're going. You can have actions like throwing grenades. You can build your base buildings. You can have call-ins. Everything you can do while paused. So makes the game a little, simpler to play and play at your own pace.
I love it. I mean, I've been playing RTSs my whole life, and I just, especially those like late game situations where you've just got so much going on that you're like, that control point, it's a lost cause. This lets you kind of slow down, it feels like, and kind of take stock of the situation and command a little bit more comprehensively, I guess is how I put it.
Yeah.
Clearing these guys out here. It looks like we got a vehicle that we can capture. Is always helpful. Let's see if we can move our medic truck up too.
And Drew, what do you think? Should Liana build some mortars? Oh, there's a nice explosion.
Oh yeah.
Plane.
Nice.
Mortars are a great way to support your frontline troops safely from a distance. That, along with the airplane call-ins, which I think here you have recon, you have strafing, and you have bombing runs. So
yeah.
As you get your resources.
Yeah, mortars are always a good buy.
So. And we have to get ultimately to this tower, right? I noticed there's a side objective over here. How are those going to work, and what do those do for you if you do go for that kind of extra kind of push?
Well, side objectives often will obviously reward you, during the match, during the mission, or the skirmish. But on the longer play is that they'll roll up into rewards and benefits on the campaign layer. It'll also mean that you're going to overall have a higher efficiency rating and take less damage to your company because you've accomplished the mission in style.
All right. And we got this flak tank. We got some mortars moving up. Make sure we build our port center so that we can get tanks eventually.
You can also vet up some of your troops, so when you see the unlocked veterancy right there, you can make decisions.
Got some fire superiority. Is there between like the fire superiority and the cover to cover? Is there one you guys like better for a mission like this?
Well, fire superiority, I think, is definitely, it's all contextual, but I'm a big fan of bounding up, and as you were doing in the early part of the game, flanking positions, HMGs, anti-tank guns, or even enemy infantry. So cover to cover, I find super useful.
Excellent. Let's drop some smoke here. Oh, well, they might die before
idea.
Before we even drop the smoke. That MG team was not long for this world.
Nice use of smoke.
Get some good flanks going on here.
Got a sniper in the rear as well.
Where are they going?
Just
that guy right there.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Move up a little bit. Bring this guy up, and let's bring our med truck up as well. So how does so we went with the American plan. How would the Brits play differently from what we're seeing right now if we had gone with the British plan or even the combined plan?
Well, what that would have meant is that the campaign company, the options and abilities, as well as the units, the overall roster would have changed depending upon the campaign company that you start the skirmish or start the mission with. That'll essentially give you a completely different roster of units and abilities to call on.
Excellent.
And I think you should probably build your tank depot soon. If you haven't, you need a little more manpower.
Getting there, yeah. Okay.
I think as you get into the heart of this mission and move towards the tower, you may see some enemy armor.
Yeah, I'm expecting it. I know it's they're hiding out there somewhere, for sure.
But the great thing about Company of Heroes is it's all about your creativity. How do you want to tackle this? It could be air support, it could be anti-tank guns, it could be tanks. There's one right there, actually.
Right.
And so mortars are great here. There's sticky bombs that everyone knows from any World War II movie.
Right.
Throwing a sticky bomb on a tank is always a good way to blow it up. Your riflemen should be able to do that.
Yep, they're on their way.
All right.
And
yes.
Vehicles now have side armor as well, right? So that adds some more realism to the.
Yeah, side armor comes from the fact that, again, listening to our players for the last few years, anything and everything that players did not like about Company of Heroes 1 and 2, we are trying to address in Company of Heroes 3. Side armor is a perfect example of how we're listening to players, and it just adds more authenticity and a little bit more gameplay.
If I can use this as a distraction and lay some air support down here.
Oh, this should be nice.
Would a strafing run or a bomber be better for taking
I
this
go
thing?
bomber.
Okay.
Yeah, bomber on the fixed position. Yeah.
Yep, strafing for infantry. Bombing. This should
Pull back a
hopefully blow
little
up.
bit so we don't get friendly. Oh.
Oh. So
That
you got
was-
killed, but the bomb's still coming in. I see the plane
Yeah,
on
I
the
think we
mini-map.
still got the call in, so we should be able to see this thing go
Here it
up.
comes.
Alright.
Nice.
Just about did it. And of course, now these guys are getting pounded. Let's do attack pause. Let's throw a sticky on there, and let's move up our MGs as well.
And let's go back to your base too. Do we have the tank?
We
building?
can now
There we
build the
go.
tank depot.
All right. Okay, so now when you build this, you'll have access to some tanks that this company uses.
Excellent. Alright, guys. Getting that thing going. Might want to pull these guys back.
Yeah, definitely apply the upgrades to those units as well.
That's
Yeah,
what
so you can have a nice little staging area on this side of the runway for units to come back. If you don't necessarily have to retreat them all the way to base, you can just bring them back to this little area here where the medic truck is. I think once you send them back to base, they're going. You'll have to pick them up back at the base.
I will remember to grab that. Okay, these guys finally dislodged this control point here. So we'll go in and capture that for some extra munitions. And I think everyone here is healthy. These guys are ready to go for once we get some tanks going.
You can also, if you go back to your engineers, the little wrench icon, you can build a flamethrower on them. You can add a flamethrower. So those are always fun to take out infantry behind cover.
Hey, Liddy, there's a question here from chat. ProMat2 asks, for how long can we play the pre-alpha?
So the pre-alpha will be up for... actually, I have to get that information. I believe it's a couple weeks is how long we're going to keep it up for. I'll get that exact answer before the end of the show. But it's at least 2 weeks because we really want players around the world to play it. Actually, I'm being told it's 3 weeks. So that's even better. So making sure players can play it, and what we would like is for players to play it and hopefully enjoy themselves. But if you do see things you don't like, please tell us. Let us know. You go to companyofheroes.com and be part of our development. Let us know. We've announced the game really early. And so we did that so we can actually act on the feedback that players are giving us. This is put out there not as a marketing demo. This is put out there for players to play and give us feedback, and we still have lots of time in order to fix everything that players don't like.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I heard it's announcing for late 2022, but yeah, that's a lot of time to iron out anything that might not be working great, I suppose.
It really is, and that's, right from the start of development, it's been about listening to players. And so over the next year and a bit, we're going to do more of these pre-alpha previews, and some of them will be focused on player versus player and multiplayer to make sure that we can balance the factions and make the game as best we can. And somebody is asking about multiplayer. So we're holding back a few things because it's a long campaign here on the road to launch. So there will be a few things we're holding back, but I can say that we are launching with more factions than we've ever launched with before. So that's a really good way to start. Obviously, everyone knows that Italy is what we're focusing on right now, but if you saw the CG trailer, you know that North Africa is also in the game. We'll be talking about North Africa later on. Later in the year, early next year. So right now we're focusing a little more on Italy and the campaign.
Excellent. And you were telling me that it's not like there's an American campaign and a British campaign. You get access to everybody, right?
That's right. In this Italy campaign, you're the Allied commander, and for the first time in one of our campaigns, you're controlling two factions, the Brits and the Americans, and obviously going up against the Germans. But there's going to be an international flavor. This theater of war had so many countries represented. Drew, you could probably talk to some of the battle groups and companies we're going to have.
absolutely. Well, in the pre-alpha preview, from the British perspective, we have the UK Indian artillery, we have the UK armored, and then from the American perspective, we've seen the first Special Service Force or the Spec Ops Company, as well as the American Airborne, which is an old standby, of course, right? Must have. So this is the starting battle groups, which obviously are also campaign companies. These are the units that you're controlling on that dynamic campaign map. But yeah, to your point about the national diversity in Italy, this is one of the chief reasons why we chose this theater. But I think, just as importantly, we had a lot of influence from our co-development council recommending that this was the theater that we should be looking at for this installation.
Try out this white phosphorus here, see what this does. I don't think I have actually seen this call down before. Capture this AT gun too. Probably gonna need all the help we can get on that front. Okay, these guys are all healed up and ready to go.
There was one more squad there that
he
needed
hasn't.
healing as well.
Yeah, he hasn't reached yet. Okay.
You could also vet them up if you'd like.
Excellent. Alright, so we got the AT gun. Point this in general direction of where I think panzers might be coming from.
Yeah, that's another great thing about gameplay is if you kill enemy units and they drop their team weapons, you can pick them up and use them against the enemy. So again, the idea for Company of Heroes 3 is to take the best bits of Co 1 and Co 2, but also add lots of new elements. So you'll see a little bit of everything when you play the game.
Oh, here we go. So the problem is our AT gun's getting flanked by this position over here, so we're gonna have to maybe do something about that. Maybe get some
you're light on munitions, so there's no air support ready. Yeah.
You can also use your engineers to build some cover if you'd like. That's a lot to do in the heat of battle.
Yeah.
Our core players, our best players around the world, that this is second nature to them. But for the rest of us,
yeah,
there's a lot going on.
I like to say I'm an avid RTS player. I'm not necessarily a great RTS player, especially when I'm trying to stream and take questions and stuff at the same time. All right, there we go.
You're doing great, Leanna.
Move on up.
Absolutely.
Let's drop a grenade on these guys.
And if people are watching and concerned that maybe Drew and I aren't the experts guiding Liana, rest assured we have a gameplay team that are some of the best players in the world. We've hired 2 of our community members to be on the team at Relic full time, so we have some amazing players that are actually designing and playing the game to make sure it's the game that players want.
What kind of feedback have you gotten so far from those high-level players? What are they most excited about? What were they maybe not as excited about that got you to change some things?
One of the top things at the very beginning was, what theater are we going to be in? And we asked players, what theaters, and it all came back to, it needs to be a new theater, that no one really wanted to go back to the Western Front or the Eastern Front again. And when we talked about new theaters, there's 2 big ones, Mediterranean and Pacific. And we asked our core players which one, and overwhelmingly it was 10-0 in our first summit meeting that the Mediterranean would be a better theater than the Pacific. And the reason was, in PvP, it's just not a fair fight between the Allies and the Axis in the Pacific. The Japanese forces just didn't have the tank support that the Americans had, and we'd have to really fudge the sides to end up with a fair fight, and that's just not authentic. And this theater has everything we could ask for: lots of map variety, lots of factions, international flavor, great gameplay, from the verticality in the hills of Italy to the open, wide deserts of North Africa. So just a great theater for co-gameplay.
Fantastic. All right, so hopefully we can get some Shermans out here soon, because we could certainly use some armored support. You guys have flamethrowers. I'm not liking that.
Definitely have the fuel, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we just need some manpower.
Manpower, because I'm always Hitting that replenish squad, smashing that replenish squad button, as they say. Alright. I accidentally retreated these guys. I didn't mean to send them back, but my hotkey game is not at 100% today. Alright. Moving our mortars up. We're gonna try to see if we can dislodge this building up here, but they're hitting us with their own mortars too, so I might fall back a little bit here.
Yeah, it's a hot control tower. Hotly contested, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Should not spend too much manpower replenishing these guys so we can actually get a tank out.
Absolutely. I think
there
it's
we go, that's
there.
a good mortar hit. I want to take this wounded one. To our truck here.
Alright, I think you can bring out a Sherman now.
There we go. Now we're in business.
And so I just want a couple more questions coming in.
Yeah.
And that we got one from Lime Checker. Are the Italians going to be added as a faction? So the Italians are fully represented in Company of Heroes 3 as on both sides. Actually, I mean, that's one incredible thing about this theater is the stories that there are. And one of them is, you know, the Italians were a little bit on both sides. The partisans will really help you as allies, both on the campaign map and as actual fighters in the RTS battles. And then there will be what we're calling battle groups. And those are really big, meaty add-ons to different factions. And there'll be multiple Italian battle groups as well. So you'll see Italian forces on both sides. The international flavor we're talking about as we add new battle groups, because we only have 4 companies you're seeing here, but there'll be way more than that at launch, both as companies in single player and as battle groups in multiplayer.
There we go. I just remembered we have our own flamethrowers, so that'll help. Where is my tank? He's making his way up to the front here.
Yeah, if you don't spend any manpower, you can get another tank on the field as your infantry can take over this control tower, hopefully.
Yeah, they're almost gone. Okay,
nice.
Let's get in there. And then I'm actually gonna see. I think we have a couple squads. And let's not spend too much manpower on that.
Yeah, I'd hold off.
Okay.
Just to make sure you can get another Sherman on the field, I think.
Right.
So I mean, you know, there's lots of decisions that to be made with how you'd like to play. You don't have to listen to Drew or I at all.
Absolutely not.
Alright. Oh, might have to... Got a little bit of a traffic jam here. Let's get our medic jeep. There we go. Don't... Oh, okay. Well, that worked. I was gonna say, I don't know if flamethrower is gonna work well against that, but apparently it worked just fine, so... Alright, so we've got the tower. I think you can build your tank. Got our second Sherman on the way. We just gotta hold this point, I think, and we will, should be able to finish the mission off.
Job done.
I think some regular infantry, if I got them available to... Armored counterattack. I was trying to breach this building over here, but turns out flamethrowers make that a little bit difficult, is what we learned today.
And if you want, go to your engineer squad, and you could build a couple tank traps where you think they may come.
Oh, here they are. Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they are already here. Don't show them your back.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, back
Don't
that
want
shoot.
to do that. There we go. Keep pointed.
One. Can you call in a bomber? I don't think so.
Let's see. Do we have the munitions? Yeah, we can call in a bomber here.
All right. Let's see if we can get him
Oh, don't
locked down.
roll away too fast. All right. Well, we made pretty short work of
got
those
it.
Panzers either way.
I think they're gonna bomb anyway.
Yeah,
Just
you
for
know,
the heck of it.
it's just like, hey, why not? Just victory lap. There we go. All right.
Nicely done, Leon.
So this is a little hairy. Not my best work, but sure as I get more. Oh wow! Look at look at that take right there. Pre-alpha, by the way. that was some driving right there. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we have this airfield, what are some of the things we could do with it, real quick, as we wrap up here?
Well, certainly one of the things that the player can look forward to being able to do once an airfield is in their possession is to garrison an airborne company and then gain the ability to, with C-47 transport aircraft, drop those paratroopers behind enemy lines or right on the enemy line if necessary.
Excellent.
As well as P-47 strafing runs, as well as Mitchell bombers. There's going to be a wide variety of tools available to the player. But certainly, I think pair dropping troops is one of the more useful.
Yeah, and what you're seeing here is you get some XP, and you'll be able to level up your company even more. And the other thing, as Drew mentioned, you get control of the airport. It gives you all kinds of access to air support, like bombers and recon and transports, as Drew said. And then there's other things in the game too. When you control seaports, you get access to destroyers and battleships to help your forces. And then what you're seeing right now are characters that you will interact with throughout the campaign. In the pre-alpha preview, there's 3 characters. You can do missions for them, and they'll actually give you gameplay benefits if you do things that these characters are asking for, including Captain Valenti, who in a little bit, if we kept going with the stream, she may point you towards a partisan unit that's trapped, and you have to go save them, and then you get access to the partisans, and it will be right there in Avellino.
Yeah, and I believe, we can even see some of these rewards that we can eventually unlock for all of these different people. Well, we are just about out of time here, but if everybody watching, which I'm assuming most of them do, want to check this out for themselves, how can they get their hands on the pre-alpha preview?
Just go to companyofheroes.com, and you could sign up and be part of our community, part of our development. You can play the game today, and as I mentioned, please give us feedback, both positive and negative. We want to hear it all so we can make the best Company of Heroes 3 experience.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much to both of you for talking us through this this slice and helping us introduce Company of Heroes 3 to the world. We have a ton of coverage going up about Company of Heroes 3 that you can check out over on IGN.com right now. We got a video preview, got a piece about how it's kind of returning to the roots of Company of Heroes 1 versus Company of Heroes 2, all kinds of stuff. So be sure to give those a look. And for everything Company of Heroes, keep it right here on IGN.